Hello, Hill City. Thanks for joining us online. This is our House Church Week. So if you are joining us online, make sure to join us the following week in person in our large gatherings. And this following week, we're going to have a big Thanksgiving meal. Would love to have you join us and just get to meet you. Today, we're going to focus on our rhythms. So we have weekly rhythms as a church, and rhythms are all about things that we do every week. So we're kind of doing the things over and over again so that we are kind of aiming at something. And so I want Hannah to just talk a little about rhythms. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, so many of you know, if you've been a part of the community for a while, that we sort of have this pretty simple weekly rhythm, and it's Tuesday prayer and fasting, Thursday for serving, Saturday for gathering corporately, and then Sunday for resting. And the reason we chose those particular things, or the reason why we think there should be a rhythm to church life at all, it just goes back to kind of how humans are wired. Humans innately do seek out and learn from embodied practices that are repeated over and over again over time. And these may be unconscious practices. You probably have a specific routine you go through in the morning to get ready.
Yes.
You don't even think about it. It's just what you do. And that's because at some point when you were younger, that was established and repeated again and again and again. So if you had a really strict parent who was always like, the bed must be made, even if you're not a huge, really organized person, it may be that routine stuck with you. And now to feel ready for the day, you always have to make the bed.
And you should. I'm one of those people that believes you should make your bed.
I feel that way too. Yeah.
You're a make your bed person?
I don't feel ready for the day unless you
Candace is not a make your bed person.
I'm not talking down to anyone who isn't. I just happen to be. But we have those unconscious rhythms that we establish. Now, we have a choice in the type of people, the type of disciples that we are becoming.
Yeah.
And so if we actually want to see these important practices that Jesus exampled in our lives, we have to make consistent time for them. And it's really tempting to be like, okay, I need to pray more in this coming year.
Yeah.
You know, we're coming up on the time when people make New Year's resolutions. So they say, I'm going to pray an hour every day. Well, the likelihood of that sticking is pretty low because you've set the bar way too high for yourself and you don't have this established practice. So what we've done with this rhythm is say, hey, wherever you're at with prayer or with fasting, do something related to that on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And we always have a prayer on our social media that you could use to guide that time for a very short amount. We have different things offered. John always throws up on Facebook, like, how would you like me to pray for you today? Which, by the way, is something you can do for your Facebook friends if you're interested. That could be something that could be spread farther than just John doing it.
Yeah. I just thought it was really interesting because I started it because of my friend Mark. He was doing that for his church during COVID.
Oh, okay.
Just to connect. And in the beginning, it went really slow, but it's funny. It's like 2 years later, people will post pretty significantly, and then I'll receive DMs all throughout the week of prayers, and then I'll be praying for people all week long, and it's become something like it's something a part of my life. But I'm constantly praying for people, and they're asking me as a person of prayer in their life, and I didn't think that's what it would turn into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be something like that. If you're part of a house church and you guys update each other in prayer requests, maybe Tuesday is the day that you sit down for 10 minutes and you pray about those prayer requests. Whatever it is, just a rhythm of prayer and fasting, which can be hard for people, but you can give up one meal. You can fast from one thing that day. That kind of begins to ingrain that habit. And that's the same for all the others too. For serving, for actually gathering, and for resting. So there are ways to establish these rhythms so that a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, you actually see that you've grown in these areas of spiritual disciplines that draw you closer to Jesus.
That's so good. It's like there was something that I heard the other day. There's a huge gap between what you know and what you actually do and experience.
Yeah.
And so we know a lot of things. And I was actually talking to Hannah about this this morning. We know how to do a lot of things, but it is maybe I wasn't talking to you about it. I was talking to Ezra about it.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Because he asked me, he said, Dad, lately I don't feel as close to Jesus lately. And so he says, I know these are the things I'm doing. And he was telling me he's praying, he's reading this book called Do Hard Things. And as he's reading, he's like, I really want a closer relationship with Jesus. And we were just talking about there's a lot of things we know to do and know what's right. Like those things, I know I should pray, I know. But like the other side is we actually have to experience those things.
Yeah.
And one of the areas I challenged him in was to experience serving and loving those who are down and out. Maybe it's students or people at a school, maybe kids sitting alone. How can you actually practice the love of Jesus, the way of Jesus, and do it, experience that? So you could, and I told them, then you and Jesus are in on it. You're bringing moments of heaven in on daily life, and it's no longer just a regular day. It's a sacred moment. And so I would challenge us that if you, I know you should, like I tell myself, I'll talk to myself, oh, you should pray, and I know that. Then actually praying is another thing, and experiencing that. And I tell myself, you should love your neighbor as yourself, or serve the poor, or take care of the poor, or those who feel down and out, because you are acting as a ambassador of Jesus. And we know that, but actually doing it and setting it in a rhythm that we do it weekly will bring transformation into our relationship with Jesus and just in our lives. Because as Hannah said, who are you becoming? This is our plan of becoming like Jesus, because becoming like Jesus is the priority of the Christian. Yeah. Not just knowing the things about Jesus, not just knowing the right things. It's not just orthodoxy, right? And this is so like churchy language, but the orthopraxy of actually practicing this stuff, it cannot be lacking, because in the words of Eugene Peterson, the truth of Jesus plus the way of Jesus, the way he actually lived, his practices, gives us the abundant life of Jesus. And you hear me say it, but you're in on it. I think a lot of times in Christianity, like Ezra is feeling, like, I'm not really feeling this right now. And I think a lot of times we feel that way because we forget that we're actually in on it, and we might lack in one of the ways. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but one of the ways we might feel that way is because we're lacking the rhythms that is changing us into the character of Jesus. Yeah, and that is a big deal. And I wrote in here, Hannah actually said, would it look 1 year from now if we would practice the rhythms of Jesus? You did it even in a small way or in a big way. Like today is Thursday. That means, we look on our list. Oh, it's a serve day. Mm-hmm. Candace, today will be downtown serving
Thanksgiving
meal. Yeah. And she was excited about it. I don't know how many hams that she's got. Well, our refrigerator is full of hams. Gabe's refrigerator is full of hams. Someone else's refrigerator is full of hams. And they are getting ready for this meal. But I can imagine in my own heart, I can feel that for weeks they've been anticipating this meal and excited to prepare it. And I wonder how you would feel in your heart as you're anticipating and excited to prepare as you're loving others. And in that experience, it's not like we're just grabbing merit from God, like we're doing good things so that God will see us. No, it's like we're becoming and practicing, and you've heard this, the character of Jesus until it becomes our character. That is the heart of Christian discipleship and transformation. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
I just thought maybe it'd be helpful to share as we practice this rhythm, as other people in the church practice this rhythm, maybe one area where it feels like Oh, I've definitely seen growth in this rhythm over the last year, and maybe another one where it's like this was really hard.
That's good.
And maybe listing for some people. What
Yeah.
are those? What's that area that feels like a real struggle right now
Yeah.
to keep a rhythm of?
Yeah, I like that because I can be like the pessimist. What are you struggling? What do you know? But like, where should we celebrate the area that that things have been going well, the transformation has been happening? Like to have like a real assessment of self. What would you say out of the four rhythms that has been really helpful?
Oh,
for you?
throwing it back to me.
Yeah. Yeah, in your face.
trying to
Yeah,
think.
just kidding.
I can think of my area of weakness right away.
Yeah.
I feel like with Sabbath rest lately, I have not been in as good of a. I feel like I had a really good rhythm going. Sunday was my day off. I was turning my phone off for at least part of the day, and now I am in a season of even more busyness, which is something to definitely think about if you are also in that season. What can you be saying no to? I'm in this season where it feels like everything naturally like overflows onto Sunday.
Yeah.
And then even with some family rhythms, it's become normal for Sundays to kind of not be a total rest day. And so I'm just trying to think through, what do I need to do to make sure I actually get that devoted time of rest and not just, I think as John Mark Comer, or at least Bridgetown Church calls it, the Sabbath-ish practices of,
That's
you
good.
know, binging the TV show you missed out on, or maybe you took a nap, but you also cleaned everything. You know, how can you have a true rhythm of delight in worship and rest? So that's something I'm trying to work through, fighting through, because I know what a good rhythm of it looks like, which is really helpful if you're struggling in some area. Like, can you rewind to that point? What changed from the point where you were really practicing that rhythm well? How can you have grace for yourself, maybe in the particular season you're in? But how can you reestablish the rhythms that would be most helpful for you? So Sabbath is definitely the struggle one. I think probably, I think fasting is perennially hard for me.
Yeah.
I used to, I still fast every Tuesday, but I think it's always something that feels like it's not actually doing anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It is one of those rhythms that you don't see the immediate fruit of in your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's just by virtue of the type of discipline it is.
Yeah.
But it's more of a begrudging thing for me to be a part of that rhythm than it is a delight or an established practice. I'm listing another one I'm struggling with. Wow. I'm not listing the positives. I just realized. Here's a positive one, prayer.
Bam.
Prayer.
Win.
I feel like every year I grow in prayer. This year definitely grown in prayer. All types of prayer. Being able to intercede for people, spending time in silence, imaginative prayer, listening prayer, having a rhythm of praying with others. Shout out to my mom and my sister Abby, just praying with them almost every day. Praying through the night for some very specific needs in our church. So yeah, I think I've grown a lot in prayer, but it can still be, even when you grow, I think you realize, wow, now my eyes are just open to how much more there is to learn in this area.
Yeah.
So don't do what I do. Don't list a bunch of struggles. I got off base there.
Something that's going well is gathering. I'm gathering all the time.
Yeah.
So like that's been a strength of
a
mine.
great one.
And it's not always have been. It's not. It hasn't been always a strength of mine. I do like what I have to do, but lately that has been something much better in my life. I would say just this year. Area of struggle would be silence and solitude for me, and I could say rest as well, fasting. But like more than all of that, even fasting would get better. But I have not been doing the solitude thing, and when I don't do that, the place that struggles most is my relationship with God.
Yep.
Like I practice silence and solitude, I find that I see God everywhere and I hear God everywhere. And when I start slowing that or taking that part out, I lose contact in that, not even contact, but that intimacy there as well. I lose contact with myself,
Yeah.
what I'm actually going through. And so I would say I could do better there, but gathering has been much better. And yeah. And any book recommendations as we finish up?
I was just gonna say that there's and I've forgotten the title again, which
Sacred
John
Rhythms.
wrote down for me, thank goodness. Ruth Haley Barton has a book that's just an introduction to most of the spiritual disciplines.
Yeah.
It's called Sacred Rhythms, and it's a great one to check out if you're looking to learn more about these spiritual disciplines and how you might creatively practice them in your own life and establish that rhythm. It's a great one. It has questions you can answer, and you could even read it with somebody else. Ask somebody else at Hill City, hey, could you join me? I want to practice these. And you could read Sacred Rhythms together and talk about it.
Yeah, I'd recommend the one that really impacted me was like The Life You've Always Wanted by John Ortberg, and then we've talked about The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Those are all great books to start off on and gives you insight on things to think through. And if none of those work, we love Emotionally Healthy Spirituality or Church.
Yes.
So those are 4. If it was me, I'd read all 4 because they all bring depths of insight that are needed. And if you want something a little harder, like Foster's Celebration of Discipline, it's fun.
This is going to be 10 books at the end.
Spirit of the Disciplines by Willard. Yeah, those are all incredible. I'll stop talking. No more. But I've just given you 5, and all 5 are amazing books. And I feel that practicing the rhythms and the disciplines of Jesus is what is a huge part of becoming like Jesus. It cannot be missing in the Christian life. It's that question by Francis Chan and by many others is like okay, this is my religious life. How is your spiritual life? You mean my real life? Yeah, our spiritual life is our real life, and we'll end right there. Thank you for joining us. God bless you, and read all 5 books. All right, but not on your day of rest, unless you really want to do it, because it delights. All right, God bless you guys.